GM. Thank you for tuning into Sunday Dinner. I'm your host, Zach Radio, and I'm super excited for the guest that I have on the show today. Artist, entrepreneur, educator, and also a Chicago native. I got my guy Logik on the show today. How you doing today, sir?
First of all, rest in peace, Pimp C. I am blessed, man. Thanks for having me, giving me the platform and space and the love. Appreciate all y'all for pulling up. Let's get into it, man.
No, definitely. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate it. And let's go ahead and hop right into it. So I've had the opportunity to see you grow and create opportunities within Web3 within the last 12 months. And you continue to build and provide opportunities and educate within the ecosystem. But prior to getting into Web3, can you give us a little bit of background of what you were doing prior to becoming this full-on entrepreneur within this ecosystem?
Yeah, man, I'll keep it short in clips and we can dive into whichever one you want. I started designing on the internet in around 2005. At the age of 15, I started designing signatures and websites and stuff of that nature. I got in it through gaming. So I was like selling, I was like buying and flipping domains. I was selling web hosting and all at the same time playing basketball at a high level and doing the whole school thing. From that, I went to Chicago after playing basketball. I played a bit of Division I back in the day. And from that, I ended up moving to Chicago to pursue my life as an artist, just because I couldn't find institutions that paired sports and art where I can just thrive in both. So I had to make the decision. I hung up the kicks. So in Chicago, I got my degree in film and animation at Columbia College Chicago, where I studied animation and film and video. I think I said that already. So through that, I realized I didn't want to work at an animation studio, because you would only be responsible for like these front work pieces of like in-betweens or backgrounds or whatever. And I wanted to be Tim Burton. I wanted to be Disney. I wanted to create the environments, the space, the ethos of what people are watching, and not just be someone who's task oriented. I just knew my attention span wasn't built for that. So instead of working in the animation track, I ended up getting into this internship called the Marcus Graham Project, where it's an advertising boot camp. Marcus Graham it's a nonprofit organization. It's amazing. It's geared towards getting minorities and women into the world of advertising. So through that, I lived in Dallas, Texas for like an entire summer in 2012. And then through that program, like 90% of us get a job. So I ended up working at an advertising agency called Common Ground. It was a Black-owned agency in Chicago. It was amazing. We have like Travis Scott walking through the office, Ice Cube, and we were working on like some of the biggest stuff. And there, I just got a lay of the land. I worked on Nike. I worked on Grey Goose, Coors Light. I worked with Russell Wilson from the Seahawks for family insurance commercial. Right, did my first commercial in Pasadena. I shot Marlon Wayans 101. And I had homies that really took me under their wing that worked in these agencies to let me know that I can be a black man, a cool black man in corporate environment, get the check and still have fun. So through that, I really got to see like my creative director had tattoos up his neck and all across his arms, and he's holding down the biggest IPs within the agency. And like we just plus on the side of the building. It was crazy. Just because I got to see that just to be able to be successful, you don't have to have a stick up your butt or conform to becoming an Uncle Tom or anything of that. So, man, I really got to see myself as success. Through that, I was just blessed with just like one of those things. We were experiential agency, and so we would activate at places like South by Southwest. So we would partner with Complex Con or Complex Mag all the time. So I'm fucking like 23 and I ain't been nowhere. Like I ain't seen nothing. I'm from St. Louis, bro. Like, I ain't been nowhere. I'm in Chicago seeing all the shit. I'm in Austin, Texas with these role models. Like these are my big homies, but we were corporate salary getting paid. And I met Childish Gambino. I shot a photo of Childish Gambino with a Polaroid. I met Nipsey Hussle. I shot him with a Polaroid. I saw Dom Kennedy. I'm brushing past Wiz Khalifa. So like all these things where I'm seeing them on the internet, and now I'm on the other end with the badge, working with the company that came up with the campaign, that came up with the environment, came up who got the space, and then my homies, you know, like I'm just kicking it with Bud B, bro. Like this shit is stupid. You know what I'm saying? So, which is amazing that you pull that up. So when I got to see this insight, I kind of got to say, fuck all these people in this way of like how I was taught I was supposed to get the get to success or be myself and move around. So through that, I learned about like, so in advertising, if anybody know this, uh, you get paid very incrementally, in agencies until you jump ship and then you jump up like 10 bands, 20 bands or whatever. So like through this, it wasn't like I'm cared about advertising. What I was doing advertising, I was learning about the processes that the underground lacks. So when I did my first $1 million commercial, I got to see what coloring looks like. It looks like a spaceship. Like when people do coloring, like when they call commercials and movies, everything all at once is an exception. That was edited in Final Cut. But usually these things are like spaceship type environments. So and going through all these levels of approval and how many minds get to touch these things before they get out. It really gave me insights of billboards and activations and stuff like that, which I was using it like a university. Like I was like getting paid to learn to then help them do whatever they wanted to do. So it was like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. So this whole entire time I'm hustling corporate America in order to fund my art career. So long story long, I left the Black Oil agency to go to a couple other agencies like Havas. Or I did a few others like right before I got to Google, I was at an agency called Leo Burnett, which is one of the biggest agencies in the world. They're famous for creating Tony the Tiger. They're famous for creating the Jolly Green Giant on a green beans can, and they're famous for creating the Marlboro Man. So as I was there, I learned the hierarchy, a peek behind the curtain. So to the point where I was able to leap over all of my higher ups, the people that overlooked me, and I had like one-on-one relationships with the CEO of Leo Burnett in Chicago, to the point where I was able to leverage a problem within the agency, and I created a subsidiary agency called Naomi, which was named after the wife of Leo Burnett. So I went from working, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a subsidiary. So I went from having people that I had to answer to having complete autonomy for my last year at Leo Burnett, where I salvaged relationships. Like I would go into gym, my team would go to Detroit. I had a SWAT team of 4 plus me, so there's 5. We would go to Detroit for like 2 or 3 weeks to help them with their campaign. So if they were on the on thin nights with the client, we would bring in new business. Like if you ever seen, I'm gonna take credit for this one. If you ever seen the Travis Scott, J Balvin campaign with McDonald's, I actually pitched that. My team actually pitched that exact idea to Coca-Cola. And if you don't know this, Coca-Cola and McDonald's are in bed with each other since their inception. And the deck is actually called Pushing Coke, because our thing was to sell more Coca-Cola, more cups. So you can almost like, are we trying to sell the soda? But that wasn't the point. The idea was to push the cup. So we came up with these like the hype beastie type cups, where you partner with cool IP, like the ones you saw. But it was like I was able to do these cool things, but we didn't get credit for it because it definitely got repositioned and put like somewhere else. That's the name of the game. But all of these things made me palatable for a place like Google, where when you went to my website, I just showed all my art shit. Like I create immersive experiences for people. So the entire time I'm working in corporate, I'm taking all those funds and funding my art studios and creating, bringing my characters to life, like Mickey Mouse, like at Disney World. So I was doing all those things. So when they went to my website, all you saw was my art shit and paired with my LinkedIn. And then they picked me out of the crowd. And right before the pandemic, it was like a 3-month process. And then I ended up working there for 2 years. And then my like I said, I started out designing websites. when I was like in my like 16, 15, 17. So that was like the way I made my bread. And so I had a rapport with programmers, developers. So I understood at a very basic level and also like learned the code C++ and ActionScript. So I already had a rapport with programming, and also I had a rapport with ownership on the internet. Kind of like when you reference domains, understanding a 5-letter domain is valuable. I made up one, it was called Plota.com, and a few others, and I was able to flip those. I was designing websites, buying the domains, and flipping them. So when you start to look at like ownership on the internet, and then when I learned about the blockchain, you can solidify the ownership and the provenance. I was sold, and then after I did more research on, uh, after Lady Phoenix introduced me to Web3, I had crypto in 2017, but the NFTs is a whole nother thing. Lady Phoenix introduced me into the world of Web3 on Clubhouse, and after I got more in depth and with more understanding about what smart contracts were, again, understanding is just a set of variables to make actions happen on the internet or the blockchain. Then I started doing more research. You can shout out to Mirapok or Mad Dog Jones or people for just doing these executions. And all just throughout the cosmos of the universe, and just looking out for your boy. I'll end on this. Um, I was like working on a few ideas, and I was like, I just can't drop art. I know too much. I want to do something impactful. I know too much, but where's the developer? So I was just kind of like noodling. And one of my homies was doing a photo shoot at my art studio. And it was during the pandemic, so I only been talking to a bunch of circles on Clubhouse like a madman for hours on end about NFTs and Web3. And my friend, she's brought her clothes over. They're doing a little photo shoot. And this guy in my house says, "Yo, you're Julian." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I know who you are, blah, blah, blah." And he's following me on Instagram. And I was like, "Oh, shit." I was like, what's up with you?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm a programmer." And I was like, and for me, that's like skeptical because that can just mean, HTML or some shit. So I'm like, "Okay, what does that mean?" He's like, "Yeah, I went to this school, Carnegie Mellon, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Yo, do you know Solidity?" And he's like, "I do. I've done stuff like that." But 2 weeks later, um, 2 weeks later, it's Satoshi Go. 2 weeks later, I met up with him at Sono House with two ideas. One that hasn't been dropped, and then another one being the plug. And we worked on the plug. We dropped that joint, and after we dropped it, we saw it in like 2 hours after doing some things. And I was like, I don't think I need to work in corporate anymore. And I'm gonna figure out. Let me keep doing these things. So, yeah, long story long, man. I thought I was gonna put it in little compartments of chapters or something, but that didn't really pan out that well. So here we are.
Thank you for elaborating, Logic. You kind of touched on a point going towards my next question. I always feel like it's intriguing when entrepreneurs take that leap out of the quote unquote 9 to 5s. You resign from Google to start your own business and become an entrepreneur. Can you kind of elaborate on the mindset that you had to take that leap? Because it's not easy.
Yeah, one thing I always emphasize to people: don't wait till you're ready, quote unquote, to start. So, Studio Logic had already been in the works for like a year and a half or 2 years, far before I knew I was going to leave. The point is, when I went to Leo Burnett, I was like, "This is going to be my last agency." When I got to Google, I was like, "This is going to be where I stop." I already knew that these places were going to be the things that I were going to exit from. I understood the titles and things with that adds to my resume and things of that nature because, again, this is in essence a game of optics and positioning, and it's not what you know and it's who you know and all that stuff. So the idea of it was to always strengthen the things that I was doing. Ever since I started in advertising back in 2012, the point wasn't to be an advertising mogul. The point was to take all that shit that I'm learning behind those walls and to apply it to my repertoire. So in essence, it was like it's understanding a give and take, what's going to be beneficial for you in the long run. And when you do things, I try to be as intentional as possible about where I decide to get it, who I decide to get in bed with. So making sure that I'm going to get, like I told you, I treated those agencies like a university. Just even as a black dude coming from St. Louis, Missouri, I learned about how much money it was money really. How much is a dollar really? Like I remember one time we paid this photographer like $36,000 for a weekend photo shoot. The producer screwed up. He only shot for a day and still got $36,000. I'm like, bro, this dude just made my entire salary in a weekend. And when you start to look at certain things like that, it just gave me a perspective on just how much, just even about macroeconomics, microeconomics, and then when, because if I tried to start my own business personally at the level, like I always wanted to create my own version of Disney, which means I had to learn some shit that I knew I didn't know. So the whole idea of my name comes from the idea that I have to unlearn and reteach myself the things that were necessary for me to survive. Because the narrative, if I had lived within that was preached to me, I think I would have came up $5 and a day late and a dollar short every single time, just based on the grandioseness of my dreams of creating my own version of Disney. So the idea of all these things is like when I this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I remember pitching Web3 ideas because I got my 8.0 AD. I was in deep. I had fucking red pill that shit, and I came up with a campaign for one of our clients at Google, and I was pitching it internally. And I remember going through like 3 iterations of this particular idea, and everyone was like, "It sounds cool, but where's the brand?" Or "We don't get it." And it had a Bored Ape tie-in or whatever. And in the middle of me pitching this idea, I was 45% done with the plug. I was like damn near there. So I was like, instead of me trying to educate these people on what this technology is and what it can do, and I had asked for the more work. Like that was a client I asked for, like to be added to it, just to because I was bored with some of my clients that I had currently. And like after the 3rd iteration, I hit up the other creative director and I was like, "Yo, bro," he's like, "You either fed up or you want to get taken off of it." And I was like, "The latter, bro. Like it's all good." So I was like, instead of trying to give myself more work for someone else for their shit to go, Google don't need no more money. Instead of trying to give them more, let me get a fucking head. So what I did was I took more work off my plate because I knew that this was the time for me to strike while the iron's hot. So I was like, "Why am so then therefore the plug was born. And shout out to my people's manager. I took a 3-month sabbatical, so I had a nice little exit out. Never do anything too like rational. Like people be like quitting, and then I'm gonna focus on my job. I'm like, bro, but when you leave your job, you just go home and watch TV. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got to be so busy where the job gets in the way. Like train yourself to be conscious of time and your efforts. And most people are like, yeah, fuck this shit. They go home and then still don't have work ethic. So it's like I have to train myself to have work ethic. And those things set me up to be able to survive on this where I am right now, to be accountable, to over communicate as much as possible, et cetera, et cetera.
No, thank you so much, Logic, and for that insight. It's really important because I feel like what you did was it's not easy, and I say that from a standpoint of speaking to community members who haven't left that 9 to 5, some who have, and who have took that risk to believe in themselves and become that entrepreneur. And throughout this conversation, you've kind of touched on what you do from a business standpoint. But for those who aren't familiar, can you kind of give them insight on what Studio Logic is?
Yeah, for sure. We are building a world at the intersection of art, culture, and tech. And what that means is we take the technology that we're experiencing and we humanize it. From if anyone is familiar with the plug project, is reminiscent of those who go all in on their respective hustles. And right in there, just the idea of staying in the game or paper handing your career or logic or whatever, automatically it's an easy walk for someone to apply it to their own ecosystem of a brand or whatever, because it's essentially just a loyalty program. Furthermore, when we create proof of concepts like that, we've been able to, we're a service provider for Vayner3, Sasha, they have a subsidiary called Sasha Group. So we work with Gary Vee's company to develop smart contracts and NFT strategies. So right now we're finalizing one of our clients right now, about to ship that out the door. Because a lot of things, people, you know, you don't have everything doesn't have to be the bottom line of the dollar, but more so things to show that have been proven to work. So another example is we launched a Web3 conference called Segoy. I actually should tweet I never shared the recap video. It's fucking gas. Uh, but I should tweet it just for this room. The recap video to Segoy. We did a Web3 conference in Dumbo, Brooklyn during NFT NYC last year called Segoy, which means wow or awesome in Japanese, where we had it was token gated and everything. And my collectors were the ones they got to mint 5 tokens, one special one for them, and 4 tokens to gift to their community. So essentially, my collectors, they became the plug. So it was 800 NFTs minted, and then we had over 1,000 visitors over 3 days, and it was totally immersive. It was an art show. There was live music. We had performances. Ed Balloon performed. ECAT performed. My homie Joey Perf from Chicago. We had a live violinist come through. The entire thing was wrapped on the walls, or wrapped in design. It was amazing. It was fun. And the most importantly, I think if most of us been to any of these conferences, a lot of times maybe, you know, resonating with the people on stage. So my team and me and my team, we had such a good time intentionally curating the people on stage, really bringing people from two walks of life, people who get out the mud, the trenches, and then those people in the ivory towers. Usually the conferences only picks people out the ivory towers because they're not outside. They're not aware of why things are the way they are. They just over here charge you $600 a ticket, where again mine was free. I might have egg on my face, but I think it was almost to prove a point in regards to that. And just with that, we were able to raise, $130,000 in sponsorship money for that event. It was a blessing, man. It was like just again, that's me understanding what the titles do for the future. Again, it wasn't about me being a creative director, mogul, or whatever. It was about people see my name associated with things like this, like Google or whatever, and I'm like, hey, we need tech people. We need this thing, and people are more apt to be a part of some of those things because maybe they feel like they're in good hands or whatever. But that's the whole point. It's like as we gotta hustle these institutions the way that they hustle our time, energy, and our finite existence on this earth. So to make the moves do what they does, you feel me?
Most definitely. I had the opportunity to see the recap of the conference that you curated in New York last year. And all I seen was value, the speakers, the performers. It was just a lot of value, and you don't see that at the major conferences. So I definitely applaud you for that. One thing I kind of wanted to tap into was one of the recent partnerships that you did with Timex, and you using your IP. Can you kind of get into details on how you started consulting with them and how that project came to fruition?
Yeah, man. All this shit is crazy. It's about who you know, and again, it's also about association. Hence the A. Michael King knows. But when I just and again, it's the culmination of title. Because again, when it's so messed up, man. Now, let me not get into that. All right, so basically, it's just on LinkedIn. Someone reached out to me on LinkedIn. His name is Jonathan Verk, and they curated a bunch of apes. I think it was like 7, within the community, to give insight on the development of the watches. So we would have like bi-weekly meetings of sorts, where we would give our insight on the leathers, the packaging experience. Like I gave, like even the idea of when you look at like hype beast shit, or even just like the phone, it's not necessarily just the phone in the case. It's the anticipation of opening the box and unpeeling those layers to get to the Beats by Dre's of the phone, or that special fucking Star Wars thing or whatever. So I had and just even making it bespoke to each person. So just even giving that type of insight as to like our background as Studio Logic, because that is a team thing, that was our offer, our value add. Just even the way you approach these products. But then the second thing was I was kind of cool with the IP being shared because I'm the only one that can get it. So that's the thing about that ape being shared within the IP, because they used us to leverage the brand, but they kind of shot themselves in the foot. I had no say in this, but they definitely outpriced themselves instead of playing ball to, to allow other IPs and like Alien Friends or whatever, which is why like they came out blasting. I think it was like .3 or some shit, .5 or point some bullshit. Like, uh, it was a good experience. It's a like again, these things don't necessarily have to be the most crazy successful, but when anybody's like navigating their brands or their companies or themselves, like those associations definitely help catapult you into different positions. So it was a good experience because it's so fresh and new. So I got to meet like the head designer. Um, I got to meet and kick it with the head designer of Time Meds. I even got invited to go to Italy to design my own watch. So fingers crossed, hopefully that happens. And yeah, man, it's just more so about like being curious and just letting those doors open.
Studio Logic is building consistently, and another collaboration that I thought was amazing was with the Chicago Bulls. I feel like just outside looking in, the Bulls and that organization has they're super kind of tapped into the Web3 ecosystem. They've done collaborations with Deadfellas. I know they're tapped in with Don C as well. So how was your experience partnering with the Chicago Bulls organization?
Oh man, actually, it was almost like full circle. Like I said, I used to play college basketball. I was a part of an AAU team called the St. Louis Bulls. I was a part of that organization for 5 years. We was getting buckets, boy. Um, so to be able to like me hanging up something that I love so much, just to come around, like literally come around to be one of 23 artists to do a one-of-one NFT with the Chicago Bulls is like a fucking dream come true. It's just, again, for me, I'm like, I like to feel like that. I think that I'm touched, but I feel like also like the universe, my grandmother, somebody looking out for your boy, where you keep getting these reassurances to keep going. Because what are the odds or chances that the Chicago Bulls, and I played for a team like that, and I'm in NFTs and Web3, and just for me being in my own driver's seat, it was like, fuck yeah, with a couple cherries on top. And even within this, like when as we all are growing in our respective fields and businesses, even within that, I acknowledge and recognize that Chicago Bulls, they were just exploring and figuring it out as well. So even me, I volunteered and offered like, hey, you all should do a Twitter Spaces drop room party, blah blah blah. I initiated that conversation with them to have that, where then I hosted those rooms. And again, I screenshot them and post them. We can share them on our website. And again, that goes into that goes by growth by association, etc. Where I was the one who spearheaded a conversation between Coinbase and Chicago Bulls. That wasn't something that they asked of me. This is something I presented just because I saw the benefit for Studio Logic and myself as well. So just doing those and just to amplify everything, the drop, it was a good time, man. It was a great experience, and they gave us free tickets to the Bulls game.
Simple enough, right? One thing that I've really been intrigued about hearing your growth throughout Web3 is not only you're an artist, but you're also business minded, and that balance is really important. And so for me, talking about your art, what inspired Burner Phone, and Pop Fiction, if I'm saying that correctly?
Yeah. Um, the burner phone is because I literally feel when I first got into the art game or trying to figure out how I was gonna do art when I moved to Chicago, I took a lot of plays out of a trapper's book. Like I literally think I modeled my art distribution off trapping art. or trapping drugs or whatever how you want to place it. The idea of looking at my shit like product, Currency got one of my favorite anthems for this. It's called Audio Dope, because it's in the same vein of him selling audio dope. So I'm selling visual dope. So the idea of the burner phone is because it's a lot of fucking bullshit out here in this whole like traders market and false and true support of artists, and it's real fickle. So just even me dropping the burner phone for free and the idea of having to connect, it even bakes back into the plug, the idea of the plug, as that is a in the window from drug dealing as well. So the idea of the burner phone, which is like your access or your conduit to getting access to certain things, the fine art. So in this world of pop fiction and of the burner ventures, is essentially in an era where art becomes illegal. If you're ever familiar with like V for Vendetta, a similar storyline in that. So basically, it's me like being able to homage films and me to create insight into just these narratives that I want to just perpetuate. So in essence, I'm world building for myself. So I'm like letting people watch me practice. So as I'm doing these things, it's me getting better at drawing, it's me getting better at animating, it's me getting me fusing the worlds of Black culture and Japanese culture, French culture. You'll start to see more even extensive cultures being influenced. But at the current moment, I'm studying Japanese. But so I'm getting to see how I get to mesh these worlds together. So when I go into working on my short films, feature films, and things of that nature, I have I'm like telling myself kind of unconsciously, like, though I'm just building my world out piece by piece. And Pulp Fiction is actually a homage to Pulp Fiction, because that's a scene out of it with Bing Rames and Uma Thurman. So yeah, the third one is coming up. It's Act 3. It looks amazing. I can't wait to drop it. And yeah, this is a bit of the inspiration.
You're building a lot right now, Logic, and one thing that has really got my attention is you're building a game on the blockchain called Good and Evil. Could you elaborate on that and what we should be expecting from that game?
Yeah, man, that's my baby. The Good and Evil is my baby. Storm, who's in here, she's actually in the Good and Evil game as well. So you can get like you can win a derivative of her. But the essence of the game is, this one's gonna set standards. I can't wait to share with you all. The phase 1 is gonna come out soon, and what this game is a game based on the influence of a demon named Evil and an angel named Good. And when you purchase an NFT, or we call them souls, when you purchase a soul, that soul would go between the influences of good and evil. And when your NFT is influenced by good or evil, you can do a set of actions. Now, the idea of this game is to acquire what we're calling grails. They'll be very limited in the collection, and the only way you get them is through your souls. And through these actions with the soul, so when your NFT is influenced by when your NFT is influenced by evil, the player can sacrifice their NFT for a chance at a grail. Now, this game is based on a scale of on achieving enlightenment. So there are 3 stages, 3 eyes, being the highest, 2 eyes, 1 eye. So the more enlightened your NFT, the stronger that action. So in this case, for evil, when you go to sacrifice your soul at a chance for a grill, if it succeeds, then it becomes a 1-of-1 Sac Radio NFT. If it fails, the NFT actually leaves your wallet and goes into what we're calling purgatory. Now, if someone has finite liquidity to only buy 1 NFT, there's no way in hell you're going to sacrifice your NFT or your soul, because you can't play again. You just fucking assed out. So I don't like that. So what you do is, when your NFT is influenced by good, your set of actions are that you have the power to resurrect souls out of purgatory. So therefore, someone's going to go from having 1 NFT, 1 soul, to having 2 souls, 3 souls, 5 souls, to continue to play the game. And it'll be a race to the grails, essentially. And there's going to be a lot of cool mechanics in it. But at the very baseline, that is what the game is. And the grails are created by some awesome artists me, myself included. We have like Terrell Jones in it. We have Finn. We have Gabe Weiss. We have we got Fu Mascu. And so we got Garagamo. You know, it's a really cool collection. I just can't wait to drop it. And this thing I feel like is on a standard that has yet to exist on the blockchain.
Have you announced a mint date for this game?
So right now we're in the works of dropping phase one. Phase one will be for those early adopters who want, where we allow for you to pretty much load up on souls, because when the game comes out, you'll mint a soul a piece. But in this early mint, you'll get it for not for a cheaper price in regards to the public mint when the game comes out. So right now we have 666 of, let's just say, for lack of better words, a soul caddy for you. So you can mint a soul caddy that can hold up to, let's just say, 4 souls. So when you mint one of the caddies, you can fill the souls up and it'll allocate those souls for when the game comes out. And for those who have plugs, if you have a plug NFT, you get discounted for each plug that you have in your wallet. And also per your ranking. So if you have like, and for those who know what the plug is, you have rankings that are built into the block and built on chain. Depending on your ranking, determines how many plugs you get allocated per mint. So that's you the plug. You got the plug. So it's going to be at the time. So I think we're looking to do that in the next 3 weeks or so. So be on the lookout for that. So if you don't know what that is, it's called Good and Evil. It's in my bio. You be sure to follow it and set some alarms. And it's definitely a labor of love. I fucking love it. It's amazing. I can't wait for it to drop.
One thing that I've always heard about Logik from the community is if you ever need somebody to translate to Japanese, he's the plug regarding that in so many ways. And you've created Chiba Center. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. What inspired you to create that educational outlet for those who aren't aware of what it actually is?
Yeah, no. So for those who don't know, I have a nonprofit organization called Chiba Center. It's a Japanese language school for Black and Brown people. And we started it at the height of the pandemic. My two partners, Rico Sensei, and also my brother, Brandon Bro. And a lot of you have seen Brandon Bro before. He's an amazing artist. So again, this is me gaining access to these CSET tables. And it's a bit boring. It's not lonely at the table, but I just want to laugh at jokes that are funny to me. And what I mean is when you sit at these long tables in corporate environments and certain senses of humors are, a bit different and what we consider important or a bit different. So a lot of times when I get access to information or time or in space, I like to crack those doors open and let the homies come in. And then that way we can get that Renaissance effect going on, you know what I'm saying? So the idea of is not the hoard, the information that's lame. So when my homie Richard was familiar with me as an artist and me visiting Japan, I went to Japan for about a month in 2017, just wandered around, quit my job and just shut the fuck up and watch people drink coffee differently. He knew I went, and also the O in my logo looks like a Japanese symbol, which is Nako, which means center. So he DM'd me on Twitter because I met him at the Apple store in Chicago. I was speaking at the Michigan Apple store he came on my presentation, and then a couple weeks later I see him in my homie's art shows. It's pretty interesting in Chicago because my homie is super cool, rich and cool as fuck. But you see like a white dude in a suit and like in a Mexican neighborhood, you know what I'm saying, at an art show, you like you kind of stick out like a sore thumb. But he like fresh to death or whatever. So like I still fucked with him. And when one day during the pandemic, he was like, "Yo, are you trying to learn Japanese or need help at the studio?" So I had like this crazy 3,000 square foot fucking studio in Chicago. It was amazing. It was a blessing. Shout out to the universe. And he came through, and next thing you know, I'm doing like daily lessons with him, 2 to 3 hours a day. And I'm like, yo, like by the third time, I'm like, yo, well, how much you looking to get paid for this? Because at this time, I'm working at Google, onboarding at Google, learning Japanese at the same time. And then my homie Brandon speaks Japanese. Chotto Nihongo Hanasimasu. So I invited him to come through, and then now it's like us three, me and Brandon, learning. And the next thing you know, we got all my homie Stretch, who's a brother, a black dude that's a fashion designer. Then we had this all girl skate crew, all black girl skate crew in Chicago. Now they coming through, and we were hosting classes 3 days a week. We at least had like 30 to 40 people in Chicago coming to my studio during the pandemic, learning Japanese. And then Clubhouse came out, and we were able to extend the offering to Clubhouse, which gave us a global audience, a global community. So we host them on Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse, and also we do video classes 3 to 4 days a week. So we have one of my homies, the audio side. He's like a truck driver from like Nashville, Tennessee. My man's fluent as fucking Japanese. He ain't know nothing about Japanese culture. He ain't know nothing. My man speak that shit. He's speaking better than me, and I started before him. But while he's on his route with his partner driving, take classes and self study. So it's opened so many doors. I would probably attest that we grew the black and brown population of speaking Japanese by like 5,000, 10,000% or something like that, because it's pretty. And that's just access to resources, man. That's like different perspective. Now you got more confidence to go to another country. And then also at the time, it was the third largest economy in the world. So there are people that are interested in black and brown cultures, or black culture specifically. And we're just not there to capitalize on it, because to speak the language, you have to know the culture. So if you don't have either one of those, it's just hard to do business in that environment. So yeah, so that was the inspiration behind it, just opening doors as it's open for me.
How often do you get to go to Japan?
I've been to Japan one time. I'm going again this year, and I've been planning to go. I'm a nomad, so since I quit my job at Google, I put all my shit in storage, and I'm in Los Angeles now. Not to even just be in Los Angeles, because my work is with my partner Satoshi Go, who's the dev on all the stuff. And then after this, it'll probably be Mexico City or Tokyo for like 6 months or 3 months. I'm just kind of like, as long as I got my art in my laptop, and I'm gonna just kind of just see the world. And I'm not moving back to St. Louis. That is off the question.
No, definitely. I had the opportunity to go to Tokyo, Japan in 2016, and when I went, I didn't want to come back because I felt like they've mastered the American culture, plus they have the Japanese culture, which we don't have. And I was like, oh, it's amazing. And I tried everything in my power to move to Japan and transfer my job out there, because it was such a dope vibe. Everything that I was used to and accustomed to in the States, they had it plus. So the culture out there was amazing from my experience.
Yeah, no, Japanese culture is really great at taking existing cultures and making them better, like the fashion or the technology. They don't really not necessarily innovate a lot of things, I guess, besides anime or anime is a proper way. But yeah, they just really they'll jack it for sure. They'll jock it for sure, and it just flip that shit, and you like, yeah, that's a whole different style. I was like, nah, bro, them Javos under them jeans. You feel me?
Well said. I want to be very mindful of your time, so I have a couple of more questions for you. So with the bear market kind of slowly coming up, I guess you can say, what is some feedback would you give to community members trying to build in this bear market, Logic?
You don't try to build, just. I mean, I think this is where you either build or you don't. And this is having. Then you also got to evaluate, why are you here in the first place? And I get it. People want the quick dollar. I get it. But I'm probably the wrong person to talk to about that. But in essence, it's just having that long-term vision. Like for instance, I'm putting my name behind something. I want it to be something I can stand behind. I work on creating void of being a trend. So when all the weak shit been said and gone, people got their like one quick meal or whatever, no one remembers that person's name. You know what I'm saying? Or they don't remember what that person's done. They might just have a bad taste in their mouth for being exit liquidity. And that just goes into that mindset, just living over here in Web3. But when I just kind of borrow some of the stuff from the hobbies who create from the heart and have intent. So I think if anything, the bear market, it doesn't fucking matter if you solving problems. If you're solving problems, people always answer to those problems. So in that retrospect, that means create with intention and have a reason to why you're doing it. I don't know about y'all, but I'm 33. I don't have time just to be taking stabs in the dark. I did that for one good enough. I'm like, it's like, damn, make it count. You know what I'm saying? So it's like at this level is I'm even having growing pains, having to distribute work at a higher level and making bigger business decisions on who to hire and so these things, even fucking making sure I got taxes proper for my old company and myself. So like, it's a lot of shit because I just want to make art, but also I want to be a business giant too, and also I want to create my own version of Disney. So it's a lot of shit that I am navigating. But the thing is, it's not going to just happen like with me making the decision to do these things. It's like I think one of the issues with starting something is hard to like, I don't know where to start. But the first thing is just to fucking start and be okay with that, because it's going to feel like you're going to be just putting puzzle pieces, like these never ending puzzle pieces that never show you a picture of what this thing is. But it's like, are you here? But it's like, so those things are guiding you to the reason why the fuck you're trying to put the picture in the first place. I know I'm making a terrible analogy, but I think it's this thing that's having long-term vision and trusting the process and enjoying the process. And you are your own worst critic. You know when you cut corners, you know when you're doing these things. So it's like, and ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. I ask a lot of questions. Even if I might not listen to what people say, I ask a lot of questions to reassure or so I can just be, a Leo and rebellious. But yeah, man, I just think having long-term vision and integrity behind what you're doing.
Thank you for that feedback. NFTLA's next week. Will you be attending? Do you have any curation panels going on? How can we tap in with you in LA?
Yeah, I'm actually speaking. I'm moderating one panel and I'm speaking on another panel at NFTLA on Tuesday and Wednesday. I think one is at like 12 and another was at 1. I'll tweet it out. If anyone's interested, I'll tweet it out. I gave away some NFTLA tickets too the other day too. I might have one left, so be on the lookout for a giveaway. But yeah, it's exciting. Went into this next chapter. I'm enjoying this bear market, to be honest with you.
Could you elaborate on why exactly?
I mean, the reason why I created the plug is because I saw this shit coming. It's one thing to see it coming and one thing to feel it, because I definitely feel it. It's you like, damn, I didn't even have a week to pull that out. But in all, it's a testament to who really here to do the thing that they were set out to do. And then, in my opinion, this is the same time. Where we are right now is, besides not being $3,000 or $2,000 to get up to like 4,900 or something like that. But beside that, no one was really making money. Like when I was here, when I was here, Pops could tell you, no one was fucking making money. And it was like people showed up every day because they like this shit. They love this shit. And the idea of it was just kind of like figuring out the technology, sharing tips, and people showed up day in and day out. Now this one is like, I wish Clubhouse was still a thing. I know I feel like old as fuck saying it, because this where they have this shit set up on Twitter Spaces is not really democratic at all. Like in regards to like let everybody kind of hang out and kick it. I think this is the testament as to who's really here for the long haul. And I can't wait when Good and Evil drop, because it's gonna be like coming out swinging. Everybody's like, oh, this shit is boring and trash, and then the Evil gonna come out. It's like, oh shit, this is really quote unquote storytelling NFTs, because writing a paragraph and draw some pictures ain't fucking storytelling NFTs. But do your thing, dog. I ain't mad at get their money, but I just want to set those like, okay, that this thing is that thing, but this is that thing. Wow, people just don't think there's anything new. This is like my most exciting time to learn something.
No, thank you, Logik. And I wanted to again thank you for everything you do for the ecosystem from an educational standpoint, from a creator standpoint, and you being a Black man moving in this ecosystem. It's not easy. So I applaud you for how you're moving and everything that you have coming in the future. For those that want to continue to tap in with you, what should we be looking for in the upcoming months?
So if you want, you can join the newsletter at studiologic.io. You can find the link in my bio. You can find the Studio Logic, and then the link is on that website. You can sign up for the newsletter. We don't spam you with news just when We got some hot shit coming. But yeah, so coming soon is the Burn Adventures Act 3. So the burner phones were free. So you'll get the gist of it. So Burn Adventures coming out. I can't wait to drop that. And then soon after, we'll have the phase 1 of the Good and Evil game coming out for those people to get in early and to rack up some souls for the game to come later this year.
And before we close it out, sir, did I miss anything that you wanted to kind of touch on?
Nah, man, I just want people to enjoy themselves, have fun, learn, and have a long-term mentality when we're doing these things. It's very easy to be short-sighted and get frustrated when shit don't pan out. Don't work work for longevity, not to be a trend. That's what I say. The trends work too.
Logik, I appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your active schedule to come tap in with the community. I'm looking forward to everything you plan on bringing to fruition, and you got my attention, bro, and I'm here to support. So if you ever need anything from me, please don't hesitate to reach out, my friend.
Man, appreciate you, bro, for giving me the platform. I appreciate everybody for coming in here and listening to me flap my lips. Yeah, man, let's keep it going. Everyone supports Zach Radio. Make sure y'all follow him. And follow people in this room. The chances are they align with you as well. Yeah, I'm gonna catch y'all. Hit me up if y'all in FTLA. Let's get it.
And I'm gonna close it out with that. Y'all have a blessed day. Y'all be safe.